Okay, so welcome. This is the final video of this 5-part series of me looking at all the pairs and players that have qualified for the World Tour Finals. The final event, the mixed doubles, one of the events that I am definitely very, very excited for. A big question, I think, heading into this is, can anyone stop China? Their two pairs have won the majority of the World Tour tournaments this year. However, they don't have the world champions, so it is pretty open. Also, for China, you think about it, Zheng Siwei and Wang Chong, the defending champions, aren't there to defend their title because they have retired, and they have held that title for 3 years. So can we see a different nation above the podium? One pair that definitely wants to do it, all pairs want to do it, but one player particularly that would love to kind of get back to his form, because before Zheng Siwei and Wang Chong were ruling the roost at the World Tour Finals, the guy that qualified number 1, Dechapol, also held that title before then for 2 years with his former partner, Sapsari Teirat Tanachai. So they're the players that I want to talk about first, because as with all these videos, I'm going in the order that they qualified. So the number 1 spot is the pair that qualified at the top, and that is, in the mixed doubles, Dechapol and Supissara Samparan of Thailand. Like I said, before Zheng Siwei and Wang Chong started their 3-year ruling of the roost at the World Tour Finals, Dechapol with his previous partner won the two World Tour Finals before then. So I'm sure he would absolutely love to get that title back, and with his new partner of Supissara. So this is a new pair, and they've had a fantastic year. Something made even more incredible by the fact that Dechapol has been playing men's doubles alongside it, although I think he is looking into 2026 stopping the men's doubles. I know that his partnership with Kedrin, and he did play one tournament with someone else, a young player from Thailand, but I think those two are now forming a partnership, and I think Dechapol, and wisely so, is focusing predominantly on his mixed doubles. I'm not 100% sure on that. I hope it is, because I think if he wishes to push up and get even more insane results, then I think focusing on one tournament, one event, and mixed is definitely his discipline. And he's got himself a partner in Supissara that can definitely bring home lots and lots of titles, and lots of points. In fact, they qualified with almost 10,000 more points than second place. And to put that into perspective, if you get runner-up points at a Super 1000, the highest tournament, that gives you 10,200 points. So they qualified almost a full Super 1000 tournament win, or runner-up spot more precisely, above the pair that came in second. That is just absolutely incredible. They played 18 tournaments this year, and of those 18 they reached 8 finals, winning 5 of them, which is just a really, really solid year. And they've won tournaments at every single level of the World Tour, so from Super 300 all the way up to Super 1000. That is something that usually pairs take. First of all, not many pairs actually do achieve that, but it usually takes multiple years. They managed to do it in one single year. They won the Malaysian Open Super 1000, the Thailand Masters Super 300, the Singapore Open Super 750, the China Masters Super 750, and the Kumamoto Masters Super 500. That is just a very incredible, a ludicrous amount of results, and absolutely brilliant. And I think their final tournament, the Kumamoto Masters, I said this about a number of pairs, their final tournament, if they've done well, will give them a huge boost heading into the World Tour Finals. But I think in particular for this pair, their win in the Kumamoto Masters, it was just the fact that the final, they beat the French pair who actually have qualified for this tournament, Gicquel and Delrue. It was a brilliant final. It was one of the best mixed doubles finals I've seen this year, and I think the fact they came out on top and playing the way they did and were able to change their tactics and do certain things, I think it just will give them a huge amount of confidence. Alongside those finals, they also reached 3 semi-finals. So yeah, it's been, like I said to you already, it's been an absolutely incredible year for these two, and they are certainly a pair who, personally, I think if they can get through the early rounds, so in this case the groups, whenever you see them, they grow in confidence over and over again. They're a little bit susceptible to the early rounds. I saw that at the All England in person when they lost to Go Sunwat and Siobhan Jemilai. I think Supissara at that point was still trying to gain confidence, and when they're a little bit susceptible, it's definitely in the earlier rounds. But talking of Supissara, she's really grown as a player throughout the year, as there was talks, I think at the beginning when this partnership started, that it might be a short-term thing. I think I can remember Steen Pedersen mentioned this a few times, and that's because obviously with the previous partnership of Dechapol and Sapsari, there was thoughts that maybe they're splitting up just for a temporary, just to kind of get a fresh perspective, and then sometimes, like we see with other pairs, like Chinese pairs, for example, they come back together. But because Dechapol and Supissara got such great results early on, and then also on top of that, Supissara was growing as a player and more confident, and clearly this was working. This pair have now solidified that partnership, and heading into the new year, they will continue as a partnership. So there's no longer those talks about Dechapol and Sapsari returning as a pair. So yeah, no. What else is there to say about this pair other than they've qualified as number one? And like I said, I think if they can get through the groups, or they can get, an early round win. I think if they can win their first match of the tournament, again, you can say this about everyone, I know, but some pairs or players are more reliant on getting that confident. They'll find it hard to kind of turn a loss around. And I think this is one of those pairs that if they lose on day one, it could really affect them. But if they win on day one, I think they can take that and ride it through and into the knockout stages. So number 2, Feng and Wang Dongping of China. Now, they have absolutely, when it comes to the regular World Tour, they have been the most dominant in the mixed doubles. They played 14 tournaments and they've never done worse than a semi-final. They've reached 9 finals, won 7 titles and 2 semi-finals. And that's including the fact that around the All England time, the Chinese coaches split this pair up, and Jiang and Wei Xin, who were also playing these World Tour finals. So there was a period where they weren't playing together. And even in that period, to be fair, Feng with Wei Xin did reach the All England final. So, but there was a period where they weren't playing together. Had they not had that split, I think the split was good for them. Clearly, they came back refreshed and they looked more like they were wanting to play together. I think that break definitely did, that little short break definitely did both pairs some good. But had they not needed that, or they played together, maybe we'll be sitting here saying they might have been on the similar number of titles as Un Seong and Kim Won Ho and Sir Sen-jae. Now, there is a big kind of question mark over this pair, and that is that we saw that at the World Championships, so one of the big majors that they lost early on to Matthias Christiansen and Alexandre Boe, again repeating what happened at the World Championships before. So again, there's these question marks over this pair. So on the regular World Tour, they're able to win consistently. They're very hard to beat. They can go back to back. You can reach, I think, in the European leg, they reached 3 consecutive finals. That's absolutely extraordinary. But when it comes to like the top major tournaments, there's still these question marks. Although this year at the Sudirman Cup, I felt that there was question marks over them for the same reasons, but they delivered. They were key in China defending the Sudirman Cup title. So there's kind of like part and parcel to it. So it's going to be really interesting for me heading to these World Tour finals. I spoke about how Zheng Xiu and Wang Chong are no longer in the picture. So the title is open for grabs. They've held it for 3 years. China would love to maintain that title, and I'm sure Feng and Wang Dongping, if they can, it will give them a huge boost heading into 2026 and give them more confidence at like a real major tournament. I think also for this pair, 2 more things. Wang Dongping would love to get the title back. She did win it in 2018 with Wang Yilu, a former partner. But last year, this was the pair they missed out on the qualification because although they ranked high enough to qualify, because Zheng Xiu and Wang Chong were Olympic champions, they took their spot. So they missed out last year, so they're going to come back. They would love to come back with a vengeance and look to win the title this year and kind of back up what an incredible year. They have been the most dominant pair in mixed doubles on the regular World Tour, so they'd love to kind of cap that off by winning the World Tour finals. Number 3, Chen Tangji and Toei Wei of Malaysia. This pair are the world champions. They won their first world title of the year, their last event in Australia, where, in all honesty, they were a class above all of their opponents. What's quite incredible for me is there were talks earlier this year of their split and how their relationship was crumbling. It was all over the news. I think I did a few posts. They tried out different partnerships, all that kind of stuff. This, for me, feels like a distant memory. And when I reminded myself of this, I forgot that it actually was early this year. It does feel like ages ago because they had some good results at the start of the year. They did okay. And then there was all the issues around the All England and all that kind of stuff. And then there was the split and there was all these news reports of how their personalities are clashing and this and that, and then there was the splits and all these kind of things. But since the All England period, and excusing their first tournament back together, which was at the Singapore Open, they've been very, very consistent since then. 2 quarterfinals, 5 semi-finals, 2 finals, 1 title, and the World Championship gold. So that's really that. Again, we talk about how a lot of players and pairs have had a night and day year. This pair are another example. Like I said, they had some good early results in the early of the year, but then they had that darker moment with the issues off court and all that kind of stuff, the temporary split. But since coming back, they performed really well, and not just delivering really results, but they just look like their vibes are back together. That was always something I felt when we saw this last year at the quarterfinals. There's really good connection and this vibe. They've always had that kind of together. That's returned, which is absolutely brilliant. And they've gone from strength to strength. We've all seen those feel-good videos on social media, on Instagram, with the subtitles of the mid-game breaks. And, you know, with Chen, especially Toei Wei, being very supportive of Chen Ji, very, very positive, and just all that kind of stuff. And we're seeing that on the court. That, like I said, that vibe is back, which is great to see. Now, the only thing, I guess, going against them although this was kind of proven not incorrect, but, you know, the doubts of this were kind of somewhat squashed at the Australian Open, was that heading into that Australian Open, Chen Ji's shoulder was going to be issues, and he had only just resumed full smashing practice or full-time training literally the week of that tournament. But the way they played in Australia was really good. I did feel that Chen Ji was trying maybe a little bit too hard at times, but that's understandable. He's obviously really keen to get a title. They probably saw it as a really good chance. And, you know, if he's been away, he's probably hasn't played as much. I think you could just see that kind of simmering over. And whilst I did say that in the Australian Open he was using a lot more of his stop drops maybe to protect his shoulder, in the final he was definitely using more of his smashes. And the fact that there hasn't been any issues with his shoulder, I think his timing and all that stuff is back. They are playing in the SEA Games, so Malaysia are definitely sending a pretty strong team. And if they win that and play well, I think they're going to come into the World Tour Finals hot. They were really good at last year's World Tour Finals, where they got put on one of the matches of the year against Zheng Siwei and Wang Chong in the final. They unfortunately came out second best there. I'm sure they'd love to go one better. If they are able to do that, then they will become Malaysia's first winners of the end of year finals in the mixed doubles. The mixed doubles is the only discipline where Malaysia have never had a champion. They've had it in the men's singles with Li Chongwei, women's singles, Wang Muqiu, women's doubles, Wang Pei-Ti, and I can't remember off the top of my head. And in the men's doubles, they've had Ku Kian-Keat, Tan Boon-Hong, and Govi Shem, and Ku Kian-Keat and Tan Boon-Hong, and Govi Shem and Tan Wee Kyong. So yeah, mixed doubles is the only one where they haven't. So can we see that happen at the 2025? I think the way they've been playing, if they can win the SEA Games, and if that shoulder injury is 100%, and they're playing the way they did the Worlds and all that kind of stuff, they've been playing in the second half of the year, definitely a big chance. Next, number 4, Zhang Zhengbang and Wei Yaxin of China. They are the world number ones. They, like Feng and Wang, have also been pretty damn consistent on the World Tour. They've reached 8 finals, and that's including the World Championship final. 3 titles and 5 runner-ups. Usually their runner-up spots come when they face against their compatriots. I did speak earlier about the mini break of the Chinese pairs, but throughout their year, interspersed with those 8 finals, it's been a mixture of early round exits and latter stage. So we've seen them get 1 quarterfinal, 1 semi-final, but most of the time it's either been a first or second round exit or a final. So the question is, which one will we see in Hangzhou? Will we see them going out in the group stages, underperforming, or will we see them getting all the way to the final? So I absolutely do love this pair, especially Zhang Zhengbang. In full flow, he is a sight to behold. He covers that court absolutely brilliantly. I call him the kangaroo boy because he can just literally spring up like absolutely nothing. And Wei Yaxin does have that weakness to the flick serve or the rear court because of a shoulder injury when she was young. She's always had a bit of a weird technique. I didn't know why. And I've since been found out that she had shoulder issues, so she's had to modify her technique. And I've seen a number of pairs, I think no better example than the World Final, expose the flick serve, the technique of just flicking her. But I have no doubt that they've been trying to figure out ways around this. In the China Super League, I did see one video of theirs, and I saw the pair they were playing trying to use the flicker technique against them. But it seemed a little Jiang and Wei did seem like they'd come up with a few solutions. So it shows they're working on it. But the level of that match was nowhere near, the pair they're playing was nowhere near the kind of level they're going to face at the World Tour Final. So it'll be interesting to see whether other pairs use that, try and get Wei Shin to the back by flicking her and all those kind of things. It'll be interesting to see how they kind of combat that obvious tactic that I think all pairs are going to use against them. So last year, they played the World Tour Finals. They were flawless in the group stages. They even beat Zheng and Wang, but then in the semi-finals they lost to Zheng and Wang. So that, for me, that shows you how this pair can be. But in their most recent tournaments, especially following the World Championships, they seem to be taking, for me, they seem to take that world silver as fuel for the fire to improve. I think that world final would have been a hard pill to swallow, especially the way they lost. It was, the flick serving I've already spoken about, but it kind of ran away from them. Losing any world final would have been hard to take. And I think sometimes that could either have a real knock-on effect on you, or you can go, right, this is what we need to get better at, this is what we need to do. And I get the feeling, I'm watching them in their more recent matches and more recent tournaments, that it's definitely lit a fire beneath them, and it'll be interesting to see whether they take that into the World Tour Finals. Number 5, Gosen White and Siobhan Jamilai of Malaysia. So for me, I've called this pair the quarter-final pair looking at their results, and that's because they've played 17 tournaments this year, and of those 17, 10 times they've reached the quarter-finals. It's no wonder they've qualified the top of the 5 to 8 section, which would be the 5 to 8 seeds, which are expected to get to the quarter-finals. But that aside, they have had some good tournaments this year, especially in the first half, reaching the semi-finals of their first two tournaments, the Malaysia Open Super 1000 and then the India Open Super 750. But those have been their only semi-finals of 2025. So again, they're another pair, another example of one half of the year being very strong, one half being slightly weaker. For most of the pairs I've spoken about, it's been a weaker start and a slightly better finish. For Gosen Watt and Siobhan Jamilai, it's kind of been the other way around. And as a result, I don't think many people are looking at this pair, and as a result, I think they will fly under the radar, especially with Chen Changji and Toi Wei being higher ranked, having better results recently, and the small thing of them being the world champions. But for me, when this pair aren't being looked at is when they are the most dangerous, and they are very capable of a high level and could certainly influence the group standings. Number 6, Tom Dechapol and Delrue. Again, another pair with a better half, one half being much better than the other, and for them, it's the second half of 2025 that has been much better. In the first half, they did get to the final of the Europeans and reach the final of the India Super 750, but it's from really the Indonesia Open Super 1000 where their year really turned around, because they won the Indonesia Open Super 1000, and they've reached two further finals, the Hilo Open and the Kumamoto Masters. And I've already spoken of that Kumamoto Masters final. They were unfortunate to win that one. They had an absolutely sublime final against Dechapol and Supissara, and I thought they were playing really, really good badminton. Now, in terms of what's been the cause for that, could be a number of reasons, but I do remember seeing an Instagram post from Delrue talking about how nice it was to play injury-free, and that was around the summer period, and that was kind of, I think, when their year really turned around. Like I said, I think they had a good start. There probably were some injury issues not long after that, but come the summer after those Indonesia Open win, it's kind of where their year turned around. I think even at the World Championships, they medal? I don't think they did, but they played some really good badminton there on home soil. So I think if they can bring the kind of form they've been showing recently into the World Tour Finals, they can certainly pull off a good result and have shown they are capable of going all the way. I can't remember the last time a European pair won the mixed doubles. It hasn't been in the world. We have to go back. I think it's so it was actually, that's why I thought of it. That's why I want to check. That's the last pair to win from Europe, the win mixed doubles, was 10 years ago, and that was Chris Adcock and Gabby Adcock, the Adcocks. And the reason I was really interested, I thought it was them, is because I actually think this French pair remind me of them a little bit, the way they play. And so I just felt with the way they're playing recently and what they're capable of, they could do what the Adcocks did 10 years ago. It would be really good for European badminton. They are, the only European pair in the mixed doubles. So a lot of European fans will be hoping they can pull off a good result. Number 7, Hiroki Midorikawa and Natsu Saito of Japan. This is their final tournament together as a pair, as they're expected to split in 2026. I think at the Malaysian Open in 2026, the first tournament of the year. Midorikawa will be playing with Nami Matsuyama, which is a really interesting partnership. And Saito playing with Akira Koga, which I think will get fans excited, but for different reasons. Koga being one of the most entertaining badminton players on the World Tour. It's good to see. I thought he had stopped and gone away from the World Tour, but the fact that he's back is an exciting thing. But back to this pair. They won the Asia Championships silver medal, so they reached the final, and they're a very capable pair. I'm a big fan of Midorikawa. Ever since I first saw him live at the All England, I think a year or two ago, I felt, considering he's quite small, he's able to make up that with excellent touch, and he has a great ability to find the gaps. And at moments, this pair have shown that. I mentioned the Asia Championships where they got to the final. They also won the Indonesia Masters Super 500 and reached the semi-final of the Denmark Open Super 750. They can create something, and I think they could influence the groups, but I'm not so sure about these two being involved in the final stages. They'd have to kind of bring out the absolute A-game, and whilst all players are capable of that, there's nothing to indicate to me recently that they're going to do that. So I'm still excited to watch them play. I do enjoy them. I'm going to enjoy watching their final tournament together, but will they have much of a say over this tournament? I'm not so sure. And the last pair of this entire series, Indonesia's Jafar Hidayatullah and Felicia Alberta Nathaniel Pasaribu. Now, this pair managed to qualify at their last tournament, and it was at the Australian Open semi-final against the Thailand pair of Rutnapak Opfong and Janica Subjak Raiprat. That semi-final was actually the deciding match who would qualify. So had the Thais won, they would have gone. Had the Indonesians won, they'd have gone. It was the Indonesian pair who won it. It was a really good match. It had a bit of a disappointing ending, a sad ending, that the Rutnapak got injured at the end, slipping as he lunged forward on one of the last rallies. I think the second to last rally he did that. But I just felt it was a really good entertaining match. And with what was on the line, I thought both pairs brought a fantastic level. It was just the Indonesians who were just able to handle that situation that little bit better, that little bit more patience, make slightly less mistakes. And I thought, I mentioned this in my last video when I was talking about the Australian Open, I thought Pasaribu held it together right at the key moment in that third game. But yeah, I was very happy that Jafar and Felicia were able to qualify. That's not to say I wouldn't have liked to see the Thailand pair, because I think they're very exciting for the future, but it kind of justified what I said about this pair at the beginning of this year. I thought there was something about them. I just thought they were exciting. And there's been a whole sea of Indonesian pairs, and there still are, that are kind of bubbling in that 10 to 30 range, maybe 10 to 50 range, but which one of them, there was a number of those. Indonesia obviously wanted one of those pairs or two of those pairs to kind of, break into the top 10, be that next Praveen Jordan, Debbie Susanto, or Octavianti, or Lilian Natsir and Tantari Ahmed, or those kind of pairs. And I did feel that Jafar and Felicia just gave me that little more vibe that they could be that pair that could have the ability to get inside the top 10 and then push on from there. And by qualifying for the World Tour Finals, it's a step in the right direction for them. What's also impressive about these two qualifying is that, a little bit like Gautama in his final in the men's doubles last year, they started the year where they weren't high enough ranked to get into the Super 750s or the Super 1000s, as they didn't play the Malaysian Open or the All England Open. In fact, their first 750 event they played was in Singapore, and that wasn't obviously till midway through the year. So the fact that they could only play 300s and 500s, they've been able to qualify, just shows you how well they've been playing and consistent they have been. So yeah, really good year for them. This will be their first World Tour final, so it'll be a great experience for them, and I'm excited to see what they can do. We have seen them go to 3 games and have some very tight matches with some of the top pairs. I've seen them push the world champions Chen Tangji and Toei Wei on a number of occasions, so they're certainly able to compete. But I think with the World Tour Finals just being on that other level, you have to be at your absolute best from match 1. It's going to be difficult for them. But winning isn't the top priority. I think it's going to be enjoying the experience, gaining experience, and building, using it as a stepping block to really propel themselves into the 2026 season. I think qualifying for me was an impressive feat, and anything more will be a bonus for them. Maybe with the lack of expectations on their shoulders, they can really play at their best, and like I said, when they do that, they're capable of taking it to the top pairs, and maybe we might see them cause an upset or two. So there you have it, guys. That's everything on the mixed doubles, and that concludes this whole series of videos on the players and pairs who have qualified for the World Tour Finals. Please do give me your thoughts down below. I haven't said this in any other video, but if you liked it, then like the video, subscribe to the channel. I can't remember the last time I said to subscribe to this channel, so it has been steadily growing, my channel, over the last few months, and I hope it continues that heading into 2026. But before I get there, a few more videos to do. I'll try to do a preview on the World Tour Finals when the group stages are released. That's happening on the 13th of December, so in about 9 days as I record this. It's probably a week or so by the time this video comes out. I'll try to react to that and give myself my thoughts on who I think can qualify, etc. Some, kind of predictions, etc. Obviously, I'll be talking about the World Tour Finals when they're finished, and hopefully I'll have one more video as well before the end of the year on another behind the badminton one. That's the goal. Hopefully I can achieve it. I've got quite a busy period, etc. over this Christmas period. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video, guys. As always, leave your comments, and until next time, see you then.